going on, guys? I'm having had some issues going on with the Cutlass and the intake manifolds. As I told you guys in a previous episode that I had a single plane that had a problem where it had a pinhole in a water jacket, and I didn't know that until I put water in the radiator and it filled up water on top of the intake manifold right below the carburetor in front. So I sent that back, and it turns out they discontinued that manifold because there's so many of them that have that problem. So I waited and waited, and I had the manufacturer sent me a different intake in the mail, which I was cool with. I was like, all right, no harm, no foul. Cost the same. Actually, the one that I got just a little bit more than the one I sent them back. But when it came in the mail, we went from a single plane to an air gap style intake. And this is what I got. You know, it looked all right at first through the plastic bag that it came in. Junk. But then I took it out of the bag and I found this, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Now, first off, you would think as the manufacturer, if somebody sends you a defective intake back in the mail and you have to send them a different one that's not even the same style, but it's a different style altogether, you would think that you would hand select a nice intake and make sure you're not sending me a pile of junk in the mail. But no, this is what I got. Somebody put a poor casting on here and blew a hole in it, and then decided to put a booger weld on runner number 5 right here. Look at that. That's nice. Ain't that pretty? It gets better. Oh yeah, look, it's in there too. Look, there's casting defects all over the place. But yeah, right in here, right at the bottom, you can kind of see it. And you can't see it from here, but that actually, it looks like it's cracking. I showed it to Tom. Oh, and then we got some booger garbage going on in here. The other intake that I had, I know what I'm dealing with when I get myself into Chinese intakes, you know what I mean? I cheaped out, which I shouldn't have. But the last one that I had a great casting. There was none of that stuff inside. All the ports are smoothed out. It was beautiful looking inside and out. I was pretty impressed, except for the fact that, you know, it had a hole in the water jacket I didn't know about. But that is unacceptable, man. So I called them up, and the guy's gonna take it back again. But the guy that I was dealing with didn't send me this. The manufacturer sent this to me. So screw him. Other than that, it was an alright style intake. You know, it's a knockoff of an Edelbrock RPM air gap. I mocked it up on my motor, and I put the carb on top with my air filter, and I do have a drop base, but since it's got the ram air dual snorkels, my pipes were either going to hit the master cylinder on the driver's side, and they were going to hit the evaporator pipe on the AC box on the passenger side of the firewall. So I decided, you know what, I'm not using this. And the guy said, well, you want me to send you another one? And I was like, no, because one, I don't want to deal with this Chinese shit no more, and two, I don't want to run into hood clearance issues. So I went with one of these. So I gave Rob a call over at Jegs, and he hooked me up pretty good. And I went with just a regular old Performer. You know what I mean? No hood clearance issues. It'll bolt right on, and it'll work because it's an Edelbrock, and I'm happy with it. My buddy Matt's showing up here at my house. Hang on, see what he wants. I'll have to get back with you guys in just a minute. All right, so where was I? My neighbor just stopped over. He wanted to say hi and see how things were going. We just had a wicked car accident like 2 hours ago at that intersection. It involved like a brand new Mercedes, whatever class, full-size SUV, expensive, and then it had two like trailer park looking people in a it's like boyfriend and girlfriend covered in tattoos and shit, and a junky old 90s S10 Blazer. And what I think happened was, I think the Mercedes was coming down across the bridge here, and I think the S10 turned in front of her, and she just smashed the passenger side of the truck in the front and spun it around. And then the Mercedes actually ended up, the truck stayed in the middle of the intersection out there, And then the Mercedes ended up in my neighbor's yard all the way over here. After she hit the guardrail, she ramped it over the guardrail, skimmed the traffic light pole with her passenger mirror, ripped that off, launched it off the guardrail, and it slammed on the ground and dropped a bunch of parts. Anyway, he was coming over to ask what was going on earlier with all the fire trucks and cops and cars and stuff. Hang on a second. I mean, I was sleeping. It was a good alarm clock for me. Usually it's really hard to get me out of bed, but I heard boom, boom. I was like, oh, time to get up. Let's see. Hang on. I'm just trying to show you guys. Okay, so there's the S10 out in the middle of the road, and then there's the Mercedes in the yard. Hang on, I took a video of placement. There's my hill. So, yep. That's what woke me up today. I love the sound of a good car crash in the morning. But everybody was all right. Nobody went to the hospital, you know. Anyway. Intake number 2, junk, going back. Intake number 3, it's an Edelbrock. It'll work. Did I give up any power going from an air gap to a performer? Maybe a little bit. Who cares? You know what I mean? I'm just looking to get this damn car done. I'm going back to work today. Today's Tuesday, October 20th, and today marks the 1-year anniversary that I pulled the 350 out of this car last year. So it would have been nice to have it running this weekend so I could beat that year mark, but whatever, shit happens. The intake just showed up 2 days ago, and I spent a lot of time this week dicking around with other things. I had to change the rear brake pads on the Mustang. 3 of them were brand new, but since the e-brake likes to get hung up, it smoked the inner brake pad on this side. And I didn't know about that until I started getting grinding noises. Then Chris and Tom and Dave, we all spent a lot of time. They spent all the time. I just kind of peeked in and out when I wanted to. But we were all over at Mike's house. Mike's got that 70 Plum Crazy Purple 440 CUDA. And they just put the motor in that a couple weeks ago, and they just got it running. So look out for that video coming up on Chris's channel here shortly. It might be on this weekend. He's got a lot of stuff to go through. But yeah, we got that car running. And man, it sounds wicked. It sounds like a drag car. But another thing I wanted to talk about was a very interesting story on the motor that's in my dad's wagon. If I know a lot of you guys followed this a long time ago, but for those of you that don't know, we put a 455 in this thing out of a '69 Toronado. That was back in August last year. Now, for those of you that do remember how clean this engine was inside, it looked like it was never ever put on the street. It was brand new inside, never been opened up. There was no carbon anywhere, no sludge. There wasn't even any carbon in the exhaust crossover that goes through the intake. Like in the heads and the intake, there wasn't even any carbon built up in here at all. The timing gear, the nylon gear, was pure snow white, no varnish coating, anything. But anyway, I could go on for an hour of how new this engine was and why. But I had some guy I was talking to on Jed's channel saying that he's got a motor just like it, and he thought he was the only person in the world that's got a brand new '69 Toronado 455 motor laying around. Now, what he said with the story is that back in, I think, some guy used to drag race a '66 Chevelle, and he blew up the 396. So he went to the junkyard in '70 and picked up a brand new 455 out of a Toronado they had there. I guess they drag raced the car for a little bit. It bent the pushrod, and the car just sat since like '71. They pushed it into a barn, and it sat there for 30 years. Lo and behold, somebody buys that car 30 years later with the 455 in it, and the guy I was talking to has a 396 block. Well, he traded that guy that bought the Chevelle his 396 block for that 455, and the story goes that the guy that put the 455 in that Chevelle back in '70 went to the junkyard, and evidently there was a massive train accident full of brand new Torenados in '69 that dumped Torenados all over the place over in Ohio, which is not far from here. And evidently the insurance company wrote it off, paid for everything. The cars got put in junkyards and the motors got sold off. Now, we're in Pennsylvania. That was in Ohio. What are the chances of us both getting a brand new 69 455 from a Toronado in this area? So that's just something to think about. I thought it was a pretty believable story. You know, if we were over in like California or somewhere across the country, it wouldn't be as easy to believe, but we're right here in Ohio's backyard. Now, could this be a brand new motor that was involved in that train accident that dumped a bunch of cars, that just got passed around over the years in the hands of time, people selling the motor, until I wound up with it and I put it in this car? And if so, that's pretty cool, because this is technically the first car this motor's ever been in that made it to the road. Because that train was coming from Michigan out east over here, and it just dumped a bunch of cars. But anyway, that's what's going on for now. This thing's running good, by the way. This thing does really good burnouts. That piece looks real nice. I'm sending that back today. I'm going back to work today for a week, so I'm going straight from now right till Monday. And I'm maybe I can get this running for Halloween. If I start working on it next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's not too much more to do. Put the intake on, all the carbon stuff back on top, vacuum lines, fill up the radiator. We still need to hook the distributor up to a power source where it's where we've got 12 volts in the on and run position. That's not hard to do. Riley just did that on his Buick, so I'm gonna have him do it on this. And it should be ready to fire up. I'm sorry I haven't been around making videos lately. It's just I've been doing all kinds of things. I finally got my license back. I've been beating the hell out of this thing. And I think I'm getting back on track. So, hope everybody's having fun. Have a real good Halloween. I know I will. And I'll talk to you guys later. And yeah, man, I'm so overdue on this car, and my head's just spinning. So, let me get back to it, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.